Hi. So I wanted to talk about how authenticity frees you from embarrassment. And what I mean by that is that I think that sometimes we consider some of our hobbies or ambitions as guilty pleasures. And I think we don't pursue them, or at least we don't give it 100% because we're afraid of what people might think, people that we know, people that we don't know. And we're just afraid of being cringy or of being embarrassing or of being mocked for what we do. And that's when I think authenticity comes into play. I think that when you're truly authentic, you can't help but be true to yourself and do what resonates with you. And that's what I mean by being authentic. And I think that when you are authentic, there's no way that you can feel embarrassed because you know you're doing something that genuinely makes you happy. Like, if I were to use an example, if you wanted to start a YouTube channel or if you wanted to start, a social media account, these types of activities require to put yourself out there on a different level because you're basically sharing your hobby and your work with other people that have the right to totally pick it apart and share it and do whatever they want with it. And that requires a certain level of vulnerability that I think you can't fully reach unless you decide that you refuse to be embarrassed. And how do you do that? In my opinion, is by being authentic. And what I mean by being authentic is you have to consciously choose who you are and choose what type of person you want to be and be so deeply rooted in your own values and your own principles that no matter what someone might think about you, you know whether they're wrong or right. Again, with the example of starting a YouTube channel, maybe at some point you're going to start gaining a bit of a following, and people from like school or work might find out about it. And I realize how daunting that can be. I think usually the criticism that hits home is the criticism that comes from people we know. There might be somebody that you're close to that, is going to say, "Oh, you've changed," or "I would have never believed that you would have done that," or "You're fake," or something like that. And you have to be able to look them in the eyes and be like, "You're wrong," because I know who I am. And that's how you stop being embarrassed. Um, and how do you do that? Again, is you have to consciously choose who you want to be. You have to have values and you have to have principles. For example, if you know that the three most important things to you are being kind, being wise, and I don't know, being honest, you have to make sure that your actions always align with these principles and these values. And I think at first, when you're trying to become a better person, you're going to have to constantly check in with yourself and be like, have I been kind? Have I been honest? Have I been wise? Have my actions and my intentions reflected who I want to be? And at some point in time, whether it's weeks afterwards, whether it's months afterwards, or whether it's years later, they're going to be so deeply rooted into you that you're not even going to have to ask yourself that anymore because you know that that's just who you are. And of course, that doesn't mean you shouldn't hold yourself accountable. And I think that's what, comes with it. I think that once you know who you are, you can more easily be self aware and hold yourself accountable. And like, yeah, I did step out of line that time. And I'm aware of it because I know what type of person I am. And I think that is so, so, so important because people can say whatever they want, people can do whatever they want, but you're the only one that has power over your actions and your words. You're the only one that controls them. And that's how you become the person you want to be, is by acting accordingly to those principles and those values that you set for yourself, regardless of what other people may be doing. And once you do that, and once you're so comfortable with yourself and so deeply rooted into who you are, you know that everything you're doing aligns with your ambitions and your values because you're doing it for yourself. So, for example, if you have your values and you have your principles all aligned up, you know that whatever activities you're pursuing, they align with the version of yourself that you are. Like, for example, starting a YouTube channel again, or taking dance classes, whatever it may be. Like, nobody's opinion can truly impact you because you know who you are and you know that this is right for you and that you're not hurting anyone. Like, you're just doing something that you love. And if these people aren't okay with that and they don't want to be around you anymore, then they weren't supposed to be with somebody like you because you're being authentically yourself. That means you two were just not compatible. And that's how I think authenticity rids you of these feelings of shame or embarrassment, because everything you're doing with 100% confidence. Well, not always 100%, but you're doing it and you know you're doing it for you and you're doing it because it makes you happy and nobody can take that away from you. Like you have to refuse to let people make you embarrassed. What is there to be embarrassed about? What is there to be embarrassed about? Should the idea of being embarrassing or cringy to someone stop you from doing something you like? No. So that was it. Thank you.